Tina Keith and, Tina Keith and,
Nick Isaac. Nick Isaac. Oh, Casey. Good evening, everybody. It's 7:30. I'd like to call to order the April 24th, 2025 Old Ridge Township Planning Board meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Daniel, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. De Palma?
here.
Mr. Lenning is absent. Mr. Agopian?
Here.
Ms. Cannon? Mr. Renna?
Here.
Mr. Petty?
Here.
Ms. Masella is absent. Mr. McIsaac is absent. Mr. Brennan?
Here.
And Mr. Ferrara.
Here. I'm here.
And Chairman Lauer.
Here. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, since Rakesh isn't here yet, maybe we hold off on swearing the
Okay.
professionals until he comes before the application.
Okay, we're going to go to the minutes of March 27, 2025. Do we have any questions, additions, deletions? Okay, can I get a motion on that? Okay. Okay,
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Agopian?
Yes.
Ms. Cannon? Mr. Renna?
Yes.
Mr. Petty?
Yes.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
And Chairman Lauer.
yes. Okay, next we have resolutions. Resolution 32-2023P, Stenton Construction Corporation. We have any questions about that? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just to address the comment that I did not receive your email regarding that one last condition, so it was not included in the draft resolution that is before you, but just to assure you and the board members, the one condition regarding the pedestrians crossing the street and them controlling that to the best of their abilities and restricting it to the best of their abilities is still part of the record. It is still a condition. It's just not specifically set forth in the resolution due to my missing that and drafting it, and I did not see your email to add it in before this evening. But I just wanted to assure you and the board members that even though it might not be specifically listed, it is a part of the record, and it is a condition that they would still need to comply with as part of their resolution compliance.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, do I have a motion to approve? Okay. That's, who's that?
Mr. Brennan, you're first.
Do we have a second? That was Mr. Bryan. Do we
I'll
have a
second.
second, Mr. Hagopian?
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Agopian?
Yes.
Ms. Cannon?
Yes,
Mr. Renna?
Yes.
Mr. Petty?
Yes.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
And Chairman Lauer.
Yes. Okay, we have another resolution. I think that would be Vina.
Danny, can you?
Mr. Chairman, while he's bringing that up, just for the record, Ms. Masala has joined us for this meeting.
Joe, we need to swear.
Oh, yes. Mr. Chairman, if I may, I will swear in the professionals before they make any testimony this evening. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So, good evening, board members. What you have in front of you is a resolution. The council is requesting the planning board to authorize me to undertake an area investigation study which for the Raceway Park and surrounding area. So it's mostly the area to the south east intersection of John Wall Road and English Town Road. And as you see, Raceway Park is the largest piece, but there are other properties that are either undeveloped or are in a state that would qualify them for the area designation. So I request the planning board to pass a resolution authorizing me to undertake that study. I think that area has been under the radar for quite some time. There are property owners that are interested in redeveloping those sites. There was an application or a pre-application meeting that I had for a flex space and a storage space on that area as well. In the past too, there have been numerous applications by developers, but none of them really went through. I think this is the right time to evaluate. There are 3 properties that are within that mocked up area that were excluded, and one that the one to the bottom, which is a triangular piece, is owned by NJDOT, and that's why we exclude that parcel. I'm really surprised why that piece is really owned by DOT. It's not like there is a highway or a freeway nearby, but that's one piece. There are 2 properties that are also excluded. One is used for recreation. It's owned by the township and is currently used as a cricket ground. Tanny, can you hover your mouse? Yeah, that's the property which is excluded. And then the largest piece, which is behind Raceway Park, that property is zoned for environmental recreation. It is fully encumbered by wetlands, so that piece is excluded. So other than that, what you see on the map, it comprises of 29 parcels, and I would like the planning board to authorize me to undertake an area investigation study for the same.
Okay, thank you, Vina. Do we have any questions about?
Does this include Raceway Park?
Yes, it does.
Includes where they had all the cars and that whole.
Yes, the entire area, yes.
Okay, and the redevelopment agency is going to determine. Oh, I'm sorry. And they're going to determine what type of things should be developed there?
That would be the next step, but the first step would be to see if the area even qualifies for an area in need of redevelopment designation.
Okay. But would the planning board have a say in how it's developed?
It will come to the planning board. The plan, once written, will come to the planning board.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, then we're looking for a motion to move this along.
I make a motion.
Okay,
Second.
second.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Agopian?
Yes.
Ms. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Renner?
Yes.
Mr. Petty?
Yes.
Ms. Masella?
Yes.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
And Chairman Lauer.
Yes. Okay, next we have consistency review. Again, I pass it over to Vina.
Yes. So this is an ordinance to amend the setback requirements for accessory structures like a shed within the R5 zone, especially because R5 zone, although the minimum lot area requirement is 5,000 square feet, majority of those lots are much, much smaller. They are between 2,000 square feet and 2,500 square feet. The planning board generally doesn't get to see those applications, but if you talk to any member on the zoning board, every meeting there is an application where somebody is in front of the zoning board asking for a C variance or even a floor area ratio variance, because now the lot size is much smaller than the minimum lot area requirements, and the homeowners, even if they want to put a tiny shed or a deck, have to come back in front of the board. This is a temporary fix to relieve the residents from going to the zoning board and be able to put in a shed or a deck eventually, and that is what the master plan suggests too, that the R5 zone needs to be reevaluated for its bulk standards, because if the land use patterns are such that the lot sizes are much smaller, then we need to revisit the standards. Unfortunately, because of all that is going on with affordable housing, redevelopment, and the development that is going on in Old Bridge, I've been a little busy. That will need much more research and study. I will literally have to study the lot sizes and come up with bulk standards. But this is something that will temporarily ease or will save many of the residents from going to the board. What the recommendation does is, if your lot is larger than 5,000 square feet, so if you comply, then you could have a 150 square feet shed with a 3 feet setback requirement. But if your lot size is much smaller than 5,000, you could have a 100 square foot shed, and it could be placed at 1 foot from the property line. The only hitch is you cannot have utilities in the shed. The reason being, it's a UCC requirement. For you to have electricity, you need at least a 3 feet requirement. So we have reduced it down. If you have a shed and there's no utilities to it, and it's an undersized lot, you could still have a shed, because originally they couldn't have a shed. So this is only to help the residents and make it easier.
Okay, thank
And
you.
it is consistent with the master plan, because the master plan re-exam report talks about revisiting R5 zone standards and easing them.
Okay, thank you, Vina. Do we have any questions about this? Okay,
I have a question.
okay, Ed?
Vina, the 5,000 square feet, these properties that are quadruplex properties, they're HOA regulated. So would there be a conflict between the HOA and the people, the owners?
I cannot imagine a 2,000 square feet or a 5,000 square feet lot to really have quadruplexes. I would be really surprised. I know recently the zoning board approved a multifamily unit on an undersized lot, but it's an anomaly. You don't have, and we can't write ordinances for that instance. They would still have to go to the board, but I don't believe it imposes any burden on the HOA, if there is one. If there is a large property and it has an HOA, then most likely those are multifamily units. So I don't think a shed would really make a difference. They would have a common, maybe a storage area within the building. That's what I've seen in most places, but not a separate accessory structure such as that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, can we get a motion to move this along?
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Agopian?
Yes.
Ms. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Renner?
Yes.
Mr. Petty?
Yes.
Ms. Masella?
Yes.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
And Chairman Lauer.
yes. Okay, next we have an ordinance of Township of Old Bridge amending redevelopment plan for the intersection of Jake Brown Road and Highway 9 and in the intersection of White Oak Lane and Jake Brown Road. Okay, Vina, you're up again.
So this is, I think, one of the exciting ones because this is a plan amendment to what we call it often as the SEGME redevelopment plan. And if you recall, when the plan was written, there were 4 zones that were created. There were I3, CI, and I10, but there was another zone called EDO2. And that zone was created to actually encourage highway commercial. The 3 other zones were mostly to encourage light industrial warehousing type of uses, but this zone, which fronts on the highway and right across from Regency Center, was zoned as EDO2. When the plan was written like 4 years ago, there was really not much information. We didn't know what would come in. And also at that time, Cheesecake Quake Farm, I don't know, it's this evening, I have been saying cheesecake every single time in the agency meeting. No, a redevelopment agency meeting too, I kept calling it Cheesecake. Cheesequake Farm property was not included in the redevelopment plan. And if you may recall, a couple of months ago, I came back for an amendment, included that parcel into the redevelopment study area. Now we have a nice stretch of commercial strip, and I think it's ripe for development. So we had to fine tune the ordinance so that we can have, because many of the uses that are permitted are conditional uses. There's a lot of interest from different tenants who want to move in there or like the location. However, there were no conditions included for the conditional use. And when there are no conditions, then the application is kicked to the zoning board. Instead, we wanted to work and see how the design flows better and the circulation works too. So Rakesh's group, myself, we have worked very hard to come up with these standards. Signage was the most challenging because I've often said Old Bridge signage ordinance is one of the worst I've dealt with, but it also takes a lot of time because there are a lot of things involved to clean up a signage ordinance. Probably when I have more free time, that will be my priority. But right now, I just wanted to focus on the signage part. The ordinance is written such that it matches up. Luckily, we have Ken here who represented Regency Center, but the signage ordinance for this plan is written so that it kind of is consistent or it goes with the signs in Regency Center, and the whole area looks like it was planned and designed very well. So I request you to move this resolution up to. The master plan has always talked about redevelopment of this area. SEGME was already included. So anything we do to improvise is only consistent with the master plan.
Okay, thank you. Does Rakesh want to say anything about this particular?
No, I don't have any comments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I just didn't want to leave you out.
I appreciate it.
Okay, I need a motion to move this along.
Can I just ask a question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so is this going to be primarily commercial?
Yes.
No warehousing?
Nope.
Any other questions before we move this on? Okay. I'll move it.
I'll second.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Agopian?
Yes.
Ms. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Renner?
Yes.
Mr. Petty?
Yes.
Ms. Masella?
Yes.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
And Chairman Lauer.
Yes. Okay, Joe, you want to announce that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the next item on the agenda is the application for Vision Old Bridge for Urban Renewal LLC. That application is being adjourned to the June 26, 2025 Planning Board meeting without further notice. So if you're here on that application, please be advised that it's being carried and adjourned to that June 26th hearing with no further notice to be provided.
Okay, thank you. Next, we're going to give the Old Bridge Regency a chance to jump ahead and make the request. Good evening, Mr. Pape.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, board members, tenants,
That's off right now, you just gotta turn it. It's actually still off. There it goes. Oh, thank you. Sorry.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, board members. Kenneth Pape of the firm Heilbrunn Pape on behalf of Regency. We published a notice for this evening. We'd ask that you accept the notifications that have been filed with the board, and we're looking for a new date. If you could let me know what the opportunities are, I'll let you know what works for us.
I think we should carry it to the June date because the May date is already taken up with Alfieri, and that is a litigation matter. So if in between we have a special meeting, then maybe if you want to renotice and appear at that meeting, I'll let you know. But for now, we don't have a special meeting, so it would be June 26th.
Understood. If there's an earlier meeting that becomes available and you're able to give us advance notice, that we can publish a notice, we'll take you up on it. But if it sounds like it's June 26th, if you could make the appropriate announcement, Counselor.
Absolutely. Mr. Chairman, we're, the board's in favor?
Everybody in favor of that, June 26th? Okay.
Thank you. Then, just as the last application, this application for Old Bridge Regency Village LLC is being adjourned to the June 26th, 2025 Planning Board meeting, and no further notice is being provided. So if you're here on that application, please be advised to come back on the June 26th date. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
See you June 26th, or earlier. Okay, next up is Oak at 18 LLC, amended major preliminary and final site plan with a C variance, represented by Salvatore Alfieri, Esquire. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Dante Alfieri on behalf of the applicant. I'm Sal's young son. So as the chairman stated, we're seeking the board's approval with relation to block 19013, lots 3 and 5. It's amended major preliminary and site plan approval with C variance. So if the board's familiar, this was previously approved with preliminary and final major site plan and minor subdivision approval back in July of 2021. Tonight, we are here seeking to amend that approval. I have 4 individuals to provide testimony tonight. I have our engineer, our traffic expert, we do have our architect available, and we do have our planner. So without further ado, I'm going to have our engineer come up, introduce the site, and talk about the changes from the existing approval.
Okay, very good.
Mr. Chairman, if I can swear him in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you. And can you just state your name and spell it for the record, please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Richard Ortiz, R-I-C-H-A-R-D-O-R-T-I-Z.
Thank you.
Mr. Ortiz, could you please provide your credentials for the board?
Sure. So I've graduated from Rutgers University with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering. I am a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. I have over 6 years of experience as a project manager with Dynamic Engineering and have worked on over 50 small to medium-sized commercial developments in the state of New Jersey.
Okay, you're accepted.
Thank you.
Mr. Ortiz, if you could please orient the board to the site, what was the existing approval, and then touch on the modifications that brings us here tonight.
Sure, and I do have exhibits, so just give Danny a second there. The second PDF, please.
So this is going to be a new exhibit that we'll mark?
Correct.
Okay. So we'll mark this as Exhibit A1.
One second to finish loading. Okay, thank you. So the general site location is
Before
it's
we do that, let's identify this exhibit.
sure. So this is an aerial map exhibit dated April 24th, 2025, prepared by Dynamic Engineering, and I think we're marking this A1, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so the general site location is on the eastbound side of Route 18. As mentioned earlier, it's block 1913, lots 3 and 5. The applicant is in the process of finalizing a consolidation to make the lot a new lot 3.01. The overall parcel size is 1.107 acres. That's an existing nonconformance that was previously approved. And currently, the site is undeveloped and wooded with an irregular shape. And to orient yourself, I like to think of the shape of the lot, that yellow line at the center of the exhibit, basically pointing in the direction of the north arrow. So north is to the top left of the sheet, just as we continue to work through the exhibits. The existing zoning is community commercial. That's more or less identified by the cyan line that goes along the back side of the property and then continues to the left on the sheet. The existing Wawa and Dunkin' that are next to the site, located northwest of the site, are also in that same zone. Located to the back of the site, the southeast portion, is a undeveloped wooded property owned by the county. There is some wetlands off-site, but that's entirely off-site based on an LOI that we've received. And then to the northeast of the site is Route 18 with some residential properties located across the way. I do want to note that the existing right-of-way is fairly unique here, just given Route 18's frontage. You can more or less see it there. The line that goes across the middle of the page horizontally is plus or minus the existing edge of pavement of Route 18, and then the yellow line is the front property line of the property. So there's a pretty significant right-of-way between the edge of pavement and the start of the actual property, plus or minus 50 feet. And then, Danny, if you could move on to the next page. Oh, very helpful, thank you. This is the previously approved site plan, last revised. I don't have the date offhand, but it is on that exhibit. This was basically the plan that the township previously provided final sign-off on, and this was prepared by our office.
And we'll just mark this, I know it was part of the prior approval, but since this is amended, we'll just mark it as A2 just for clarification.
Sure. So that's,
Oh, no, the last revised would be over on the left.
last revised was June 12th, 2023. So before we get into the amended application or the amended layout, I just wanted to remind the board of what the original application looked like. The building was approved as a retail strip center that contained two retail tenants and 2 restaurant tenants, with outdoor seating for one of the restaurant tenants. You can see at the top of the page, basically northeast portion of the site, that there was one-way access into the site and then one-way access out of the site. Basically, a one-way circulation throughout the site connecting to Route 18. Overall, the entire development itself is serviced by the infiltration basin at the back of the site. And then there is one trash enclosure that was proposed for the overall building that's located on the southeast portion of the site. I guess if I can try and point at that, I can just point you to it. Just want to make sure I don't. It is not. Oh, there we go. So that trash enclosure I was talking about is generally over here. Thanks, Justin. And then along the site frontage, we did propose an extension of the existing sidewalk that's located along Route 18, basically picking it up where it ends at the Dunkin' under current conditions, and then continuing across the property to the southeast side of the property. And with that said, I'd like to move on to the next exhibit, if you wouldn't mind. So this exhibit is the site plan rendering dated April 24th, 2025, also prepared by Dynamic Engineering. I'd like to mark this A3, please. So overall, if you couldn't tell, the site layout is generally consistent with what was previously approved. What we're looking to do here is we do now have a tenant, a name brand tenant that is signed up for a lease for the property. That's Dollar Tree. Basically, what we're looking to do is consolidate the 2 retail spaces and the 2 restaurant spaces into 1 retail space for the Dollar Tree and 1 restaurant space, to be determined. Overall, the layout is generally the same. The parking works the same. The circulation works the same. We maintain the same pedestrian access across the frontage and through the middle of the site. And then there is an addition of a loading space on the northwest side of the building to service the Dollar Tree. Just to kind of touch on variance relief that was previously granted, the building itself has increased slightly in footprint from 9,340 square feet to 9,479 square feet. We did receive variance relief for a rear yard setback requirement previously at 15.8 feet, or sorry, 15.7 feet, where 50 feet is required. We did slightly improve that with the new building to be 15.8 feet, so there is a 0.1 increase to that setback. Overall, parking stall-wise, we're providing a mix of 9 by 18, 8 by 18, and 9 by 20 foot stalls. The 8 by 20 foot stalls are dedicated to the ADA spaces, and a majority of the parking spaces are 9 by 20, with the exception of the 3 spaces on the southeast side of the site that are shown to be 9 by 18, just to make sure that we have a decent buffer off that property line. As far as a parking requirement goes, overall 80 spaces are required for the site, and we are proposing 37, so variance relief is required. This is a slight improvement versus what was previously granted for the original application. Previously, we had 103 spaces required and 44 proposed, so we're improving upon that condition. We do require design waiver relief for the placement of the parking, those 3 parking spaces on the south property line. The requirement is 5 feet, and we're showing 4.7 feet. That's a new relief that we're looking for. As far as EV charging spaces go, we do provide 1 EV make-ready space, which is consistent with what was originally approved, and also is compliant with the New Jersey state rules. We do understand that the township ordinance does require additional spaces, and we are seeking relief from that requirement, just on the basis that we do comply with the New Jersey state rules, and don't expect that EV spaces will be a super necessary addition or amenity to this type of use. And sticking with the EV spaces, I do want to bring to attention the relief that we're seeking there. The EV space proposed for the site originally was located on the northwest side of the site, but we did relocate it to the northeast side of the site, basically in front of the building. The idea there is to have it opposite the ADA spaces and also maintain a pedestrian access to the right-of-way. So that EV space is provided to satisfy the New Jersey state rule and also is accessible to satisfy the New Jersey state rule. The relief that we are seeking for that space is that it's located within 10 feet of the front property line. More specifically, the charging station is 2.3 feet away from the front property line when 10 feet is required. And in addition to that, we are seeking relief for the mechanical supporting equipment for that charging space to be located in the front yard. Again, we're trying to keep it away from the building so that it's not taking up space in front of the building, and it does help to maximize the amount of parking we're providing because of that striped area being utilized in addition to the ADA space through the center of the site. Moving along to loading operations. So as I previously noted, the original application did not have a dedicated loading space. We received variance relief for that requirement. Due to the anticipated vehicle that will service the Dollar Tree and provide deliveries to the Dollar Tree, we are providing a loading space on the northwest side of the building. That space will be utilized to service the Dollar Tree and also act as a holding place for the trash enclosure. The Dollar Tree does have a door on the side here that will be used for service, and overall the truck will circulate into the site, around, and then back into the space, and then exit the site straight through to the exit driveway. Sticking with driveways, we are seeking new relief for the northwest driveway, just based on the basis that the driveway does exceed the maximum driveway width requirement of 30 feet. That curb-to-curb measurement, basically from here to here, is about 40 feet. I would like to note that, however, that the actual driveway that will be utilized by pedestrian traffic is channelized to be 24 feet. The only reason that we have such a wider driveway in this scenario is to incorporate the striped area to help with the circulation to allow the truck to access the loading space. So that's our basis for requesting relief from that requirement. And again, I do want to note that the driveway itself will actually be 24 feet for the most part, assuming that people do follow that striping. Another improvement from the original application, we went from one trash enclosure in this area to a second on the opposite side of the site to service the Dollar Tree. So the Dollar Tree will have its own trash enclosure over here, and the restaurant itself will have its own trash enclosure over here. The previous setback that was approved for that trash enclosure was 2.3 feet, whereas I believe it's 50 feet is required. We did improve upon that. The trash enclosure on the southeast side is now set back 6 feet, and the trash enclosure on the northwest side is now set back 9.5 feet. And then I know a mention in the letter is questions about operations. We do have operational information for the Dollar Tree that can be shared. The delivery truck that's expected is a WB50 55-foot long truck that will basically provide deliveries. I think it's twice weekly, early morning between 5 and 7 a.m., so before the building itself is actually open and serviceable. And there will also be smaller biweekly vendor deliveries, which will take place with box trucks, also within the same loading zone. The proposed hours of operation for the Dollar Tree are Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. And as far as number of employees, we will have 4 to 5 max employees during any shift, and a total of 15 employees that will fill out those shifts as they regulate. We do not have specific operations for the restaurant at the moment, as we don't have a tenant, but delivery vehicles could be expected to be something as no larger than a box truck, similar to the original approval. And to touch on some of the additional improvements associated with the site, stormwater management, the overall drainage design is very much the same to what was originally approved. We do maintain that infiltration at the back of the site. That basin has been designed to more or less capture runoff from the developed portion of the site, detain it, and then route it to the DOT right-of-way, which is similar to what was previously approved. We do have a draft permit in hand from DOT on the amended design with some minor technical comments to close that permit out. As far as utilities go, water, sewer, gas, and electric, very much the same from what was previously approved, and Old Bridge MUA has seen and approved the amended design that you're looking at tonight. Landscaping, very much the same with the original design, just given that the site layout is very similar. We did increase the overall counts of plantings provided from 180 to 212, and in reviewing the township professionals' review comments, we don't see any issue complying with their recommendations. Lighting, we are proposing a lighting level at the front of the site that exceeds the maximum permitted 1-foot candle. Generally, that is, the attempt there is to provide safe and efficient lighting at the main entrance of the drive aisle or of the driveway. The idea too is that given the extent of the right-of-way, we don't expect that there will be much spillover into the actual traveled lane of Route 18. So while there is some spillover, it's captured in that grass area between the front property line and Route 18, and will help to provide a safe and a safe lighting situation for people that are entering and leaving the site. And to clarify, I know there was a comment in one of the review letters. The lights at the rear of the building will be motion censored, very similar to the original application. And Sticking with lighting, I can confirm that the lighting design was prepared with 18-foot mounted height in mind. I believe that is compliant with the ordinance, so we don't need relief from that requirement. We can simply revise our area light foundation detail to show that we are compliant because the design itself has been prepared accordingly. And to wrap it up, I do have some items that have changed on the signage package. The freestanding sign has been relocated from the northwest side, previously over here, to the southeast side to promote visibility as people approach the site. We do maintain the same 1-foot setback that was approved as variance relief for the original application. And then finally, the building mounted signage that was approved previously included 4 signs, whereas only 1 sign is permitted per a commercial building. We are reducing that 4 signs to 2 signs, given the change in number of tenants. And just to quickly touch on outside agency reviews, we do have amended approval for Middlesex County Planning Board, Freehold Soil Conservation District, as I mentioned, the Old Bridge MUA. Our NJDP approvals from the original approval are valid, and we do have a draft permit for the modified access permit with NJDOT that will be closed out shortly.
You've reviewed the board's professional letter of April 24th, 2025.
I have.
Were there any comments in here that you had not previously testified to that we cannot conform to?
I don't believe so. I think we can comply.
Thank you. Open it to the board.
Okay, our professionals. Rakesh first. I don't know. Go ahead, Rick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do appreciate the applicant agreeing to satisfy the comments of our memo, so I won't go through all the various comments in the memo. I'm happy to speak to any that the board may have questions about. I do have a few questions. First, could you just explain to the board why we need that exit driveway to be so wide?
Sure. So the exit drive, to accommodate the larger vehicle that's going to be servicing the Dollar Tree, that the way that can access that loading space, the loading vehicle enter into the site, circulate through the site, stage in the striped area, basically pull forward and stage in the striped area before backing up into the loading space to service the Dollar Tree.
So when you say stage in that striped area, are you saying that they need that striped area to maneuver?
To maneuver, basically, yeah. It wouldn't be sitting there for much longer than it needs to pull in and then back up.
So it can't pull up into that 24-foot aisle and then back in?
Not with what we saw with our truck turning movement. I mean, we can look at minimizing it, but we expect that space is required to accommodate the maneuver.
Okay, and the other question, speaking of I may have missed your testimony about the size of vehicle for the Dollar Tree, because the previous approval had limited the vehicles accessing the site, the delivery vehicles, to a box truck type of vehicle. So you're asking for relief from that requirement then, from the previous approval?
That's correct. The anticipated vehicle for the Dollar Tree is a WB50. It's a 55-foot long tractor trailer. Okay. That will only be here, two times a week, early in the morning before the business is open.
Okay. I'm looking through your site plan submission to see your maneuvering plan. Is that part of the submission here, the maneuvering plan?
Yes.
Okay, because I can't seem to find it.
I think it's one of the last 2 sheets.
Okay. I'll take a look at that. Obviously, we'd like to minimize that as much as possible, but that's something the board will have to, I guess, discuss, because that was one of the conditions that the board had imposed. I'll move on from that. You said you have an application pending with DOT currently. Is that for this plan?
Yep. Yeah. So DOT has seen this plan. They've issued draft permits with minor technical comments.
Okay.
Yep.
One of the conditions of our memo was that you would supply that permit and the actual approved plan to the board professionals. So you don't have an objection to that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. The restaurant use, the prior approval, again, had limited the seating to 38 seats for both restaurants. That was when there was a larger restaurant space and a smaller retail space. The thinking there was that the restaurants would offset some of the retail space, and because there were two restaurants, it was limited to 38 seats. As I read your plans, you're planning on having 38 seats for this restaurant?
Yes, that's correct. That's 30 seats indoor and 8 seats on the outdoor seating patio.
Okay.
I would be more comfortable limiting the seats because of the variance that is sought. One, for a 1,200 square feet restaurant to have 30 seats seems to be a little cramped up. More than that, the variance that is sought is quite significant. When we approved the original application, there were like 3,000 plus square feet of restaurant use. Now it's come down to 1,200. I would be more comfortable to restricting it to 20 seats than 38. 38 seems to be too much for the site.
I think at least from my understanding, the driving factor with the previous parking requirement was primarily retail, or rather, yeah, primarily retail. That's basically helped reduce the parking requirement because we've added more retail. So our expectation was that the 38 seats for the restaurant would still be sufficient. I mean, I don't expect that, we'll get all the way up to the 38 seats, but we'd like to have the ability to be able to do so if possible.
I would be more comfortable in limiting the size.
And I'm guessing you're going to have a traffic engineer also testify?
Yes.
So one of the things that we really would need to have some testimony and some discussion on is the offsetting peaks and the parking demands for the retail versus the restaurant. The type of restaurant really matters a lot when you're talking about that synergy between the retail and the restaurant space. A 1,200 square foot restaurant is probably going to be a quick serve kind of restaurant. Maybe I don't see a drive through, so it's not going to be a Starbucks or a Dunkin', but something along those kind of lines that would probably operate pretty much the same kind of hours as a retail. So that offsetting peak almost kind of is affected in that regard. So again, I'd like to hear that testimony from your traffic engineer, but we do need to have some further discussion about limiting the restaurant space.
I agree with Rakesh, because if it was a restaurant use that has different peak times, then granting a variance that significant makes sense. I mean, for example, if it was a breakfast place, their peak times are different. Then the parking would have worked. But to allow for the 38 spaces, I don't have a problem with the restaurant use, but the number of seats kind of are concerning. But I'll hold off to hear back from your traffic.
I do have one other thing, Mr. Chairman. I know the applicant agreed to satisfy the comments of the memo that Vina and I had put out. I do want to draw the applicant's attention and the board's attention to comment number 22 on page 9, which speaks to the township's pro rata contribution for traffic. This is a requirement that was put in by the board. We've always had a pro rata contribution. It was put on hold because it was dated. It was implemented in 1980, and about 6 years ago, the township asked our office to revisit that and basically restudy the pro rata contribution and come up with a new pro rata plan, which we did, and after a lot of careful thought, and that's been put in place since that approval. So as this is an amended approval, we're basically stating that this application, this amended application, is subject to that pro rata contribution. So is the applicant amenable to the pro rata contribution for traffic? Well, I guess it's not really a question. You are going to have to contribute to the pro rata contribution for traffic, right?
Understood.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. We do have numerous comments in here. A lot of them are detailed kind of comments. In general, the site plan is, from an engineering standpoint, from a stormwater standpoint, isn't really changed very much. There's a slight increase in impervious surface, which is accommodated in the stormwater management system that was previously approved. So the applicant isn't really proposing any changes with the stormwater management. There are changes to the conveyance system, how the water is actually getting to the basin, but the actual stormwater management basin isn't being changed and isn't required to change to accommodate the slight increase in impervious coverage. Therefore, it's the previous design is still valid and acceptable. I don't have any further questions for this witness, but I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
I think I already spoke about the parking and what I feel about it. I'll just hold off on that. But there was a variance cited for building-mounted signs. I don't think you require a variance, because if that was the case, then every shopping center that has multiple tenants would have required a variance. It has to be one sign per tenant. So your proposed 2 signs for 2 tenants makes sense to me. I don't believe a variance is required. I just want to let the board know, many of the variances, and that's why I had multiple tables, many of the variances and waivers were granted by the previous application. The ones that were triggered were mostly because of the electric charging station having moved from one side to the other. So none of the variances that are sought are really concerning. And planning-wise, I don't have much questions. Do you have an architect who's going to
do have an
testify? Because all I wanted to know is, does it really affect the architectural elevations? That's all.
Does the EV?
The amended
The
site plan.
amended signs,
Yeah.
we'll have our architect touch that.
But I don't have any further questions.
Okay. Anybody on this side, my right, have a question?
I have a question. First, relative to the parking, the 3 parking stalls at the circular entry, they appear to be somewhat problematic if you envision someone trying to back out of a space while you have the traffic flow entering into the parking. I just don't like the way that it looks. It appears to be a potential issue for those 3 particular spaces. Did anyone see that and think that through?
So we did. DOT does have a requirement to keep the first movement from their edge of pavement, 50 feet from that edge of pavement. So that we do comply with that requirement. And the idea there is that, say there is a car that's backing up out of those 3 spaces, there's enough room in the drive aisle, in the throat of the driveway, so that there could be a queue behind it, cars waiting to allow that car to exit the space, while also staying off the main roadway.
So the first space on the right is set back 50 feet.
Exactly.
Plus.
Yep.
And that's where the compliance comes in. The second observation is the location
You could
of
just
the
have angular
restaurant garbage container.
Yeah, you could have
Same
angular
thought process. If you can envision a truck pulling in, and then obviously it would have to reverse to back up to pick up that garbage, it would have to be coordinated based on operations, like in kind to a delivery to the Dollar Tree. Otherwise, that would block all of the entrance coming in. So I don't see how you'd be able to function and have garbage picked up simultaneously. That could not occur.
The expectation would be that trash pickup would occur at early morning hours, basically during off-peak hours. So there wouldn't be, the expectation is that there wouldn't be a excessive amount of vehicular traffic going on site.
That would be written into the lease, so they would not permit trash pickup during business operation hours? It's just something you need to consider, because
We have
that's
no
the
objection
traffic
including
flow.
that in our lease as a requirement.
Yeah. I think those are the only 2 questions I have. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Eric, you have any questions?
The only comment I have is, knowing what's going there, you don't believe that you can get more parking anywhere in there? It's not a lot of spots. If you have a restaurant and a Dollar Tree, that's not a lot of spots.
We did design the layout to maximize the parking spaces, and the primary driver to maximize parking spaces was to not comply with the ordinance requirement of 10 by 20-foot stalls, so we did provide 9 by 20-foot stalls. So basically, in the row of spaces that we have in front of the building and opposite the building, every 9 to 10 stalls not complying with that requirement allows us to provide an additional stall. So, and obviously with the loading space added in, that did take away some space for parking. Just given the irregular shape of the site, that I think this is as parked as it can be with the layout that we're presenting.
I don't pretend to be a planner, but I'm looking at the vehicle circulation for the 55-foot trailer. So it doesn't look like too much of it is impeding onto the yellow stripes. Now, if that trailer is only going to be coming in pre-hours, right, between, you said, what, 5 and 7?
Between 5 and 7.
Is there an opportunity to put more parking and have them stage over a parking spot as opposed to just striping? Is there anything that precludes that? So all right, so the yellow stripes, right? So right next to the yellow stripes to the southeast, right, is what it looks like an island. Is that an island?
Yeah.
If you were to remove the island, push the spaces into that striped area, okay? Since those tractor trailers should not be coming in during business hours, can they
You can take a
stage and
spot.
queue themselves in there? You could probably gain at least another
Yeah.
2 or so spots.
2 spots at least you should be able
And
to
just
do.
remove that island? Is that something that could be done? So my concern is, so if you go, as you leave here, if you go up to Route 34, there is a Dollar Tree there, that also has a restaurant right next to it. That lot is crowded a lot, right? There's a lot of people will frequent Dollar Trees. Dollar Tree's bringing a lot of folks. There's not one within his vicinity, so I would assume that people will frequent this. If you have a restaurant open and a Dollar Tree open, there's going to be a need for spot, which will then spill over into the Dunkin' Donuts, which could potentially cause a problem with that tenant. So I'm just trying to look at ways that you can gain more
Actually-
spots.
Actually, to Mr. DeBama's point, I remember, but it was like 2020, so almost 5 years ago. I remember asking this question at the meeting, that have you considered having a shared parking arrangement with Dunkin'? Because Dunkin' has its peak time in the morning, and towards the end of the day, the use is kind of dead or minimal. So if you have a restaurant use and you could use the parking on Dunkin' Donuts side, I don't see a problem then. But I don't remember the response. I don't remember what exactly transpired and whether you reached out and Dunkin' refused. I don't have any recollection of that.
I would expect the tricky part with sharing parking with the Dunkin' is if you're heading to the Dollar Tree and the restaurant, you're gonna aim to go to that site first. If you don't have spaces available, you can't go the opposite way on Route 18 to get to Dunkin'. So I don't know that would really pan out the way we'd expect.
What'll happen is folks coming down Route 18 to go to there will probably be slowing down in front of the Wawa, look to see what the parking situation is, and then cut into Dunkin' Donuts prior to going to that lot. I could just foresee that folks getting, well, I'm just gonna take a look. If it doesn't look like there's a spot, using that, and then potentially causing some level of conflict with that tenant.
If there was a connection and you have the one-way driveway, you don't find a spot on this side, you could potentially, if there was a connection, you could go onto Dunkin's site and park there.
Yeah, if there was a connection. I don't recall what transpired from that. I would have to ask the applicant if he does. I
He needs to testify.
So,
He needs to be sworn in.
Can you just repeat that for
Yeah,
the
so
record?
my
it's-
client noted that essentially COVID was the crux of the issue with that, and I guess based upon that, it never came to fruition.
I think just, we could consider adding the spaces in that striped area. I know, I guess in that striped area specifically on the northeast side, the only issue I foresee with providing parking spaces there and maintaining this area for loading space maneuverability is that on the front of those parking spaces, we won't be able to put anything that'll keep those cars from going straight out of the driveway that way. So that could lead to an unsafe condition, having.
Yeah, well, I'm just looking, hey, Danny, can you bring up that circulation? It's,
It should be in the USB.
yeah, I think it's page 25, or, yeah, that's it. It's the, and if this is something, Bina and Rakesh, if this is something for the traffic person, that's fine, I can wait and hold off on it, but I just want to just look at it, just because the way that the tractor-trailer maneuvers in, there's still
There's still some
There-
space.
I mean,
It
there's-
doesn't necessarily need to be as wide as.
there's more than enough space, even with putting a blocker now. This is probably best-case scenario of someone who could really drive a truck.
The one thing that I was talking to Rakesh is probably it may be a good idea for you to ask for a variance for tandem parking because you have the striped area along the building where probably your employees could park. If you time your trash pickup such that it's done in the morning, wee hours in the morning before the use is open, maybe the employees who work for the dollar store or the restaurant could have tandem parking in that area. And the township doesn't allow tandem parking, but to ask for a variance just for the employees. So that area would be strictly for employees and you,
How many spaces do you think we could get from that area?
at least four.
Yeah, at least.
It's a 55-foot
I
truck.
mean, I would not be
going there.
comfortable, I would not be comfortable to have like 3 stacked spaces, but 2. Yeah, 2 side by side, so 4. And then you could get another 2 in the striped area along 18. So 6 spaces.
We'll consider it. We'll have to talk to the applicant and potentially the tenant as well.
Yeah, because if you have 4 employees plus restaurant employees, you're going to take away a third or a quarter of those spots unless those folks are dropped off.
Just looking at this plan now, I do see, I guess, corners that we could potentially add, especially,
Yeah,
just
so-
seeing it now, I see where you
So
could
that
sneak in
curb,
another
and
space
because you
there.
see how you have it drawn out, how they'd have to back in.
Yeah,
You take out that median, you can add a spot or at least 2 spots.
Spot or
2
two.
spots would probably be the max at 18 feet,
yeah.
right? Or
Can
9
you get a
feet, I'm
space on
sorry.
the right side too, or no?
And yeah, I was wondering if we could fit a space here, maybe shift the freestanding sign over to the right, and I'm curious about whether or not we'd fit a space in here. The only issue with this area is I don't know that we'd be able to get a curbed island. I think it would have to finish off with striping just to end that bay,
Are
but
we required to have a curb island there?
Our ordinance does require it, but that would be a design waiver.
I mean, I think from,
So with that,
for
we
the
could
the
potentially
benefit of
pick
the
up-
tenant and the benefit of the people that look to visit here, getting an additional spot, I think outweighs the need for curbing there.
So there's the potential that we could pick up 3 spaces by slightly adjusting those island areas on the 3 points.
And then you could, like Vina was saying earlier, I apologize. Like Vina was saying earlier, you could still do employee-only parking in that loading area, tandem side by side, that you could pick up 4 spaces that way. And again, that's because it's employee parking, that they can time it, or, or time the trash deliveries, trash pickup and deliveries that way too.
Eric, are you finished? Yes, I'm done. Okay. Okay, to my left, questions for this witness?
Just a quick question, we were talking about getting rid of the parking places for the employees, where the truck's gonna go. So the employees would need to be there when the truck comes to help unload it, so there might be a little bit of a shuffle needed or a conflict there. That's just a
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah, it basically would have to be something where they'd have to coordinate. So they would have to either, if they're getting a delivery, they're expecting a delivery that day, it would be during the off-peak time, so there would be spaces available to them. And then outside of that time, they could park in that area is all we're saying.
Okay, anybody? Go ahead.
So, according to your diagram, a tractor trailer is going to come down Route 18, pull in, and then back into your loading area?
Correct. It's, the maneuver is, and I'll point over here, but the maneuver is it enters into the site, circulates across the front of the building, pulls up into the driveway, and then backs up into the loading space here.
That's scary. That's scary on Route 18 with all that traffic coming in and out?
Well, the truck wouldn't re-enter Route 18.
No, but
with
he's
this
in that
maneuver.
parking lot with other people trying to get in and out.
So, but what was testified to is that the deliveries are going to happen early morning before there is any type of real activity with regard to the stores. If you correct me if I'm wrong, but the stores won't be open at that time.
Correct. The deliveries will happen between 5 and 7 a.m., and the stores will be open at 8 a.m.
And you're telling me that you're going to guarantee that there aren't going to be any deliveries at any other time of the day? Not.
Can't guarantee it, but that's
That's
the
right.
operations that we're expecting. That's what's consistent with other Dollar Trees in the area.
Mr. Petty, you're finished, right? Okay. Anybody else? Okay.
So-
Got a couple questions. Currently, you were proposing 37 parking spots, and you're bumping it up a few more? Or
I'm sorry?
How many
parking
parking
spots?
spaces are we proposing?
You,
37 are shown on the plan currently.
Right.
If we do, pursue the additional spaces that were discussed previously, that I think it's an additional 3 that would be within the main parking area, and an additional 4 to 5 that would be for employee only in the loading area.
okay,
once outside
that
of
that loading area idea sounds pretty good. Hopefully, a fire truck doesn't have to get in there while they're parked there. That could be a problem. Hopefully, it won't, but my other question is, the sign, you said something about moving the sign. I guess it was further north, and you're going to move it to the entrance?
Yep.
Closer to the entrance?
So the previously approved sign was located on this side of the site. We relocated it to this side of the site just so that there's more visibility of the sign as you approach the site. Having it over here, you basically pass the sign before you pass the entire site.
Yeah.
So the idea there is just to promote visibility, given how far set back the property is from Route 18. And if we do add an additional space over here, we'll simply move that freestanding sign further to the southeast, basically.
Well, I was
right.
thinking that the sooner somebody could see the sign, the best way for them to slow down, they wouldn't have to jam on their brakes to get into your site. So do you think it maybe should be just not so close to that entrance, or do you know exactly where it's going?
It should, I mean, currently it's proposed over here.
Yeah, well,
I guess the issue with,
yeah, I understand
yeah.
that, because it would be right on, you know, you wouldn't see it readily. What else I have? And you said the building increased by, I didn't catch how many square feet it increased by.
I believe it's 139 square feet,
That's the total increase, right?
correct?
Okay. That's all I have, okay. We can open up to the public now? Would the public like to, see no hands, close the public portion?
Thank you. So without further ado, I'll have our second witness come up. Mr. Taylor.
Hi, if I can swear you in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Can you please state your name and spell it for the record?
Justin Taylor, Taylor.
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor, could you please provide your qualifications for the board?
Surely. I hold a bachelor's in engineering from the University of Delaware. I'm a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey, as well as Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Texas. I'm also a certified professional traffic operations engineer by the Institute of Transportation Engineers. I'm practicing traffic planning for, almost 25 years now, and I've testified at hundreds of boards throughout the state of New Jersey, including this board, although it has been a little bit of time.
You're accepted.
Thank you very much.
Take it away.
Sure. So I have the ability to sit in the back and hear the comments, the questions, and really the crux of what we need to talk about from a traffic perspective. At a very high level, we submitted a new traffic study. The results were essentially the same as the last time we submitted this. We can make the driveways work based on the projected trip generation with good levels of service. And as you heard from our previous witness, we do have a draft NJDOT permit. They have reviewed this new layout. They have suggested some minor modifications to the driveway, but they did issue us a draft permit. So as we iron out those final technical details, we will be completing that permitting process shortly. So really, what are we here to talk about? We're here to talk about the parking, right? We are requesting a rather substantial parking variance based upon the ordinance calculations. I would state that the municipal's ordinance requirements for both the retail and the restaurants seem to be a little antiquated at the 1 per 150 for retail, and the ordinance requirement for 1 per 50 for restaurant are higher than what we're seeing in the industry. And so when we see something like this, what we would do is go to the Institute of Transportation Engineers and their publication, Parking Generation, which is an ever-evolving document that tracks trends in parking demand for various types of land uses. When we look to that most recent publication, what it would say for a retail portion is about 2.91 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet. What that translates to for this facility is 26 parking spaces max demand if we were to consider it a purely retail shopping center, right? That's what we'd set forth in our traffic study. Reading through the transcript from the last hearing, there was lots of talk back and forth, and there's been some tonight too, about the varying peaks of these type of uses. What we did almost instead, by way of the tenant that was selected here, is introduce a tenant that generates parking demand actually at a lower rate than what your generic retail would, right? So 2.91 is the number that ITE would say for a retail center. Right? It's what I would utilize if I didn't know who the tenants were and we were trying to fill this out to make sure that we had enough parking. But they have other land uses. And what we're talking about here falls under what ITE considers discount store, right? What we're talking about is a Dollar Tree with discounted prices of various types of commodities. And when we look to the data that ITE's published for that, we actually see a rate that's almost half that. We're seeing a rate of 1.29 spaces per 1,000 square feet. Right, during weekday, and I believe it's 1.93 on a Saturday afternoon. When we apply that to the Dollar Tree that we're asking for, that translates into a parking demand that we would estimate for this of 16 parking spaces, right? That's inclusive of employees, inclusive of customers. The max demand, what we're looking at, is about 16 spaces. We have 37, right? So that 21 window is now what feeds into what the restaurant would be able to generate in that demand. If we look to ITE, it would say for the restaurant, the smaller size restaurant that we're talking about, demand of about 12 parking spaces based on the square footage of the building. So when I first evaluated this whole thing, I came to the conclusion professionally that there was sufficient parking to accommodate both of those uses. Right? Now, both of those numbers also look at this as a standalone, isolated type of use. It doesn't incorporate the fact that there is some ability for overlap between the two of these. Maybe you come to, it's a, you know, a pizza joint, and you grab a slice of pizza, and then you shop at Dollar Tree, or vice versa. Maybe it ends up being a breakfast place, and you're grabbing breakfast, and then you do a little bit of shopping. The ITE numbers don't contemplate that. They look at both of these as standalone. So again, I think that what we had would be sufficient to support the demand of the project. But I think everything I've heard tonight with the board's suggestion is a really good idea. We have the ability now to add some spaces into this area. I do agree that the curb line along the northeast corner on the egress driveway has the ability to be shifted further north. Right? We don't need all that space for the truck circulation. My understanding is it's potentially a holdover from the last go-round when we were looking at a slightly bigger truck, and once we found out that Dollar Tree only needed 43-foot trailers, we didn't need all that space. We weren't trying to get a 53-foot trailer onto the site. So that does give us an ability to pull the that northern curb line a little further to the north and pick up probably 2 spaces in that area. I think we can also add this space along the face of the building adjacent to the loading area to pick up an additional space there. And then finally, I think while it will be an operational issue's not the right word, it will be an operational thing that needs to be handled by Dollar Tree. I think it's absolutely doable, right? You've heard the deliveries are coming in between 5 and 7 a.m. You don't have a full contingent of staff in Dollar Tree at that point. You probably have one person taking delivery, and they can park out in the parking field because nothing else is open at that point. Then once that delivery is done, then those spaces open up to be able to be tandem spaces for the employees. You pick up 4 additional spaces in there for the 4 to 5 employees that Dollar Tree is going to have. So I think it's a great suggestion to pull some of the employee demand out of the main parking field and put it into that loading area. Give a dual purpose for that loading area, since they really only get it twice a week with those deliveries. So based upon that and us picking up essentially an additional 7 spaces, bringing the effective total up to 44, I'm more than confident, based on what we're proposing, that there will be sufficient parking to accommodate the demand of the project. And that's really all I've got.
Okay, our professionals, Rakesh, would you like to go first?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So that, and Mr. Taylor's testimony is exactly what I was trying to elicit from the applicant as far as the type of uses that we have, whether they have offsetting peaks, and also a Dollar Tree discount store like this does tend to have more of a high turnover kind of patron. It's not like the kind of place where you have people coming in and parking and staying for a half hour, 45 minutes. My kids might, but most normal people are in 15, 20 minutes and out. But you do get, and also the restaurants, again, similar kind of thing, because you have a smaller restaurant. A lot of them are more quicker turnover kind of restaurants. So I tend to agree that given that type of synergy and also the modifications that Councilman De Palma and Vina have come up with, I think that would sort of lend itself to this. And also, one other thing we should add is that the applicant, from a technical standpoint, does get a 2-to-1 credit for the EV, so you'll have that extra space as well. Although it doesn't really exist, on paper it will. So I don't have any questions for the applicant's witness, but I do agree with the testimony in principle.
Thank you. Vina, would you like to ask some
Well,
questions?
actually, Rakesh said it all, and the one thing I was discussing with Rakesh even before the traffic expert came to testify is, if you think about it, originally, the application required 107 parking spaces. It has reduced, now the parking requirement has reduced to 80 parking spaces, which means your parking requirement has gone down by 27 spaces. With the proposed parking, 41 were proposed, and now you have 37. But with the 6 or 7 spaces that are being added, you really have more parking that was originally proposed. And I have to say this, when I originally reviewed this application, I wasn't smarter. Over the years, learning from Rakesh, from Deanna, I started analyzing parking a little differently. So if it was an application, a new application that would have been filed, I would have done my homework and worked on the ITE standards, because that's a norm we follow now. But because this application was approved, it was filed in 2019, and I never really got involved much into the parking calculations. It was the traffic expert who would analyze it. I never commented. I took that memo and started working off. So my apologies. But I think I do agree with the IT numbers. I think if you look at the whole scenario, the parking requirement has reduced with the 4 tandem parking spaces and the parking spaces in the striped area. I think there should be adequate amount of parking.
Okay, thank you. Anybody on this side? Comments?
I mean, I don't agree with the statistics that they give. I think once adding the spots, I think that gives a lot of relief to what it is. 27 spots would not do it here. I can guarantee that. So, no, but I'm just saying, based off of that. But I think like getting those extra spaces, I think that allows, one, getting the employees onto the side of that building for Dollar Tree will greatly help, because now you're freeing up 4 or 5 spots, right? So while, as folks are shopping, and then as the restaurants come in, there's probably going to be an overlap at some point where probably about that 8 o'clock timeframe seems when people want to run out for something for their kids for school. At least that's what happens in my house. Someone runs to Dollar Tree, we need something for a project that's due tomorrow. That there will be some overlap that'll crowd it, but I just think that you guys seem to be amenable to it to get it. Probably also save some construction costs. You don't have to add that extra curbing if we could do that, but I think that allows for that, those couple extra spots plus the employee parking will satisfy at least what my concerns were.
I do have a question. What was the calculation that you had for the restaurant? Was it a total of 12 parking spots?
Yes, so based upon the ITE number, it projects 8.9 per 1,000 square feet.
Right.
And that translates into 11.19 or 12 spaces.
So we'll use the number as 12 as a talking point. We would expect to have maybe 3 or 4 employees. Could it be a 1-to-1 ratio with vehicles there?
You typically aren't going to see that. You're going to see some utilization of mass transit along the bus line along Route 18.
Worst case scenario.
So, okay, you want to say, yeah, the worst case scenario, 2 to 3 spaces like that, correct?
So we are looking at the best case scenario is 12 and 4 is 16.
Well, no. The numbers ITE quotes includes employees as well as customers. So the reason that is, right, ITE is based on data presented by transportation engineers such as myself. I would go count the local pizza joint. I'm counting the number of cars in the spaces, and I know the square footage of the building, but I don't know whether it's an employee or a customer parked there. I just know that there are 12 cars parked. So all the number that ITE give us incorporates both every user that would be on the site for that use, whether it's an employee or a customer.
So we can say perhaps now 3 to 4 employees and
8 to 9. Yep,
9.
that's correct.
So if we have 36 seats,
Yep.
what's the ratio of vehicles to occupants? Is it 2 to 1?
So your ordinance contemplates a 3 to 1, 1 per 3 seats, when you look at a restaurant, right? So now you're saying on average there's 3, You know, I mean, I go out to eat, I'm a family of 4, right? But maybe there's a family of 2 or a single person coming in. So what we see is about 1 per 3.
So that translates into 12.
Correct.
For the occupants, without the employees.
Sure.
Which is 15.
So now you're at 16.
Which exceeds the original 12 that we may have calculated for. I think that's the formula. I'm trying to figure out if we have potentially 36 occupants, and we've got now a 1-to-3 ratio.
Yep.
So I've got 12 vehicles for those patrons, and I've got 4 workers there. Now I'm up to 16. I'm over the 12 count that we calculated using the IT calculations. So where I'm going is it sounds like we need to add the additional spaces to be compliant, just applying logic. Forget about the formulas.
Sorry, I have a hard time putting down the formulas because
No,
I live and breathe every day.
I
But
agree, but you see where I'm headed.
I do. I think the 16 that you've got over there, right? And then if we were to take Dollar Tree as a discount store that we're talking about for ITE numbers, it's another 16. We're at 32. We are now up to, what, 37, 40, 44, I think, between 43 and 45, depending on how it all lays out. So I think it builds that buffer and that little factor of safety in there on when you're going to have the overlap between the 2 uses. I think it's a great idea.
That's all I have. Thank
Okay.
you.
And
Yeah, I just have a question. I know we keep talking about the big trailers that are gonna come between 5 and 7. What time are the box trucks coming? It's not 5 and 7,
No, they have.
because, I mean, if we're taking those parking spots, the island, everything away, they still have to come in, pull up, and back in.
So there's 2 solutions to that. One, the box truck doesn't need nearly the swing area that the tractor trailer does to get in and out.
Correct, they still have to pull up and back in, right?
They do have to potentially back into that area, but they also don't need the depth that the tractor trailer needs as well. So if we have the ability, let's see, easier one to put over here, right? If we start to put the spaces, the employee spaces that we're talking about, down.
No, I understand, but I'm saying, where is,
Then the box truck has the ability to come in and stage in this area, right along the edge, in front of the parked cars. So the parked cars could be there while the box truck delivery is taking place.
so where's the entrance where all the supplies are gonna go into the store, into Dollar Tree and to the restaurant? Are they gonna go through the front door with the box trucks, or
So
they're gonna go
the
through the side door?
restaurant is absolutely going to go through the front door. The loading dock on the loading area on this side is anticipated for the Dollar General. Similar to the last application, the small box truck food deliveries that the restaurant's getting would most likely stage either in a parking space out front or in the aisle in the morning before the peak happens for the whole place. And they go in through the front door of the restaurant.
anything further, Gary? Ed, you're next.
I have a different idea. I propose that you lease spaces from the Dunkin' Donuts for the employees. Lease 6 spaces and make that part of this contingency so that there wouldn't be, you wouldn't need those spaces. You'd be added to for regular shopping people. So lease the spaces from Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, I understand your comment. Unfortunately, we can't, as a board, require them as a condition of approval to lease spaces from a site that's not subject to the application, that's outside the application. So if they did that on their own, that's fine, but we as a board can't require that as a condition of approval.
Anyone else? Well, originally, the last time you got your approval, I wasn't happy then about the parking spots being less than half. And like Venus said, it started out over 100 at one point and got down to 80. But anything you could squeeze out of the site, I'd be happy with. So thank you for your testimony. Now I have to open up to the public. Seeing no hands, close the public portion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to call our third witness, which is our architect, just to touch on the signage and the exterior facade of the building.
right, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And could you please just state and spell your name for the record?
Sure. William Cohen, AIA, it's Cohen.
Thank you.
Mr. Cohen, can you please provide your qualifications for the board?
Oh, sure. I have a Bachelor and Master's of Architecture from Tulane University in New Orleans, Louisiana. I am nationally licensed by NCARB. I'm active in 6 states right now: New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Georgia, and Florida. I have been doing this for over 30 years, believe it or not. And I've personally overseen over $1 billion in construction to date.
Okay, very good. You're accepted. Thank you.
Mr. Cohen, if you could just touch on two things. One is the signs themselves, and then the exterior facade of the building.
Sure. You can hear me? Yeah. As far as, let's take the second question first. As far as the new treatments of the exterior, first of all, the footprint of the building has, as previously testified, has fairly remained consistent with what was previously submitted. The only thing that we did do on the north elevation, which in plan view would actually be towards the bottom of the sheet, there was originally a little bit of an offset. The layout now is consistent in one continuous plane along that elevation, which gained us a net of, I believe, 139 square feet was what it was previously testified to. As far as the exterior treatments, if you want to go back to the elevations, again, the overall shell of the building did remain fairly consistent. It's a concrete block construction. We've revamped the northern elevation, which is the front of the building. It is now mostly consistent of split face rock, 8-inch concrete block, with the center treatment being an ephes or stucco type treatment. The general height or the parapet height has remained consistent as well, with the exception of we did, as you see on the top of the sheet, we did add an arched, let's call it parapet or bulkhead area, which would be consistent with Dollar Tree's aesthetic, which comes just under the 30-foot mark, which is what's allowable in this zone. As far as the signage now, since it's only a 2-tenant building and as previously testified to, it will be Dollar Tree in a future assembly, an A2 tenant restaurant. Where it says tenant letter A, that would be consistent with Dollar Tree's logo. And then the second one on the left would be a future tenant, which is undetermined at this time.
We have no further direct.
Okay, thank you. Professionals?
I don't have anything for this witness, Mr. Chairman.
Ina?
Do you agree to work with me during compliance reviews with some tweaks to the architectural, only because we have some recent buildings that were approved along the highway, and there are some like specific materials that we would like to see. Would you be willing to work with me?
You want to discuss them now for a few minutes, at least to give us a heads up of what you're...
No, I think it's a standard that when we go through the compliance plans, I work with the architect and we finalize them.
Happy to meet with you.
Sure. Thank you.
On my right, any other questions, comments for this witness? Okay.
That's what we were going for.
Anybody on my left?
Achieved our goal.
Okay, go ahead, Ed.
You said something about outside seating.
Correct.
Where would that be?
That was in the previous application as well. If you look on the upper the second drawing from the top. I'm sorry, yes. No, go back, I'm sorry. Same sheet. The second elevation.
The second detail.
That would, if you're looking at the top drawing, it's the far left side is the restaurant, and the second drawing is that side elevation. There'll be a pair of storefront doors which lead to a concrete pad, and as previously testified, there'll be seating for 8 patrons.
Are you done, Ed? Okay, anybody else? Go ahead. Ms. Purcell, go ahead.
Yes, sorry. On the next, if you, did I turn it on? Oh, I gotta get close to it, sorry. Yeah, if you scroll down, it looks like if those tables are twosies, then we got like 16, seating for 16 outdoors. I don't know if it's just a rendition or,
Just a rendition. There's, as previously testified and testified by myself, we are seeking seating for 8 people.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, do you have any kind of idea of what kind of restaurant? I mean, is it like a
no
fast
idea.
food thing? Or
I just draw pretty pictures. I have
Oh.
not, I have nothing to do with the real estate component.
a
Fortunately,
donut thing, a
we don't
fast
have-
food thing? What
We
kind
don't
of-
have any proposed tenant at this time.
If you had one, we'd be appreciative if you can introduce us. Maybe you'll get part of the deal.
Okay, I was just trying.
Okay, I'm just curious, those back, the back of the building, the 4 doors, is there going to be a sidewalk around that whole building?
There is a sidewalk proposed, yes.
On the,
That's just for emergency egress.
okay, along the whole back?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to open up to the public. Again, seeing no hands, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And last but not least, we'll have our planner, Mr. Flynn, who's patiently waited.
Hello. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Can you please just state and spell your name for the record?
Yeah, Matthew Flynn, Flynn.
Thank you.
Mr. Flynn, could you please provide your qualifications for the board?
Yeah, I have my education from Rutgers. I have my master's degree in planning and public policy. I have my professional planner's license in the state, as well as my national license, which is the AICP license. I testified before this board in 2023 for the Outback, as well as over 100 other boards
what
across
happened
the
to that?
state.
Okay, thank you, you're accepted.
Thank you.
Take it away, Mr. Flynn.
So I'm going to try to be as brief as the last witness. Essentially, this is a refinement of the prior approval. Now we do have a defined user of that space, being the Dollar Tree. I think at this point, the board has asked all the right questions in regards to that new user, the operations, the parking, the circulation, really what comes into play with having this defined end user, and a better sense of what's going on with the space and how it's being used. In terms of the relief being sought, really, I would say none of it constitutes a substantial departure from what was already approved in 2021. Again, it's really just a refinement of what was already approved. In fact, several of the variances are actually improvements, like your parking variance that we just talked about. So just to run through those again, the rear setback, again, that's a very slight improvement over what was approved in 2021. Parking stall size, as testified by our engineer. The number of parking spaces, again, that's a substantial improvement, I would say, from the original approval, whereas we had a 59 space deficit in 2021, and now we're seeking a deficit of only 43 spaces. The EV station in the front setback being less than 10 feet. Similarly, the mechanical equipment in the front yard. I would say both of those are really the result of the layout that was approved in 2021. Here we have the parking situation that was approved then, and we're really working with that approval. And finally, the trash enclosure setback, we're proposing 6 feet and 9.5 feet, whereas 50 feet is what's required. Again, that's another improvement over the existing, or over the approved application, where 2.3 feet was approved in 2021. I would note that I'll get into the design waivers real quick. Parking, the side setback for the parking, 4.7 feet, whereas we need 5 feet, so a de minimis deviation there. And then the driveway width exceeding 20 feet, and there's already been substantial testimony on that. I would note that that parking setback of 4.7 feet is essentially where that trash enclosure that was 2.3 feet was proposed. So we are actually pulling this development away from that setback line. I won't go through this list of the previously approved variances since we're not changing those. So really just to tie it all together, I think we can look again to the C2 test. The benefits of the application substantially outweigh any detriments. The board found that the C2 test was met in 2021. We looked at purpose A, promotion of the general welfare. This is a permitted use in the zone, bringing underutilized space to functional use that's in accordance with the CC zone requirements. Purpose G, variety of uses in appropriate locations. This is a main corridor, as the board knows, and again, effectuating the purposes of the CC zone, which wants retail and restaurants on properties in the zone. Purpose I, desirable visual environment. I would say despite the fact that we do need that setback relief, we saw, I think in one of the earlier exhibits, that we do have that wooded area that's in actually an environmentally protected zone relative to that side setback to the right on that image on the screen there. And from a massing standpoint, we are substantially compliant, which I'll get to in just a second. Purpose M, efficient use of land. I would say this doesn't represent overdevelopment or underdevelopment. It's really an appropriate use of the space. So lastly, in terms of the C2 test, the negative criteria, no substantial detriment to the public or to the zone. I looked at zone conformance. We comply with front setback, side setback, building height, landscaped area ratio, as well as FAR, floor area ratio. So really altogether, this really is a building that's substantially in keeping with the massing that is contemplated per zoning. The board did find an element of the C1 hardship test at the prior hearing, whereas the relief relates to an undersized lot and an irregularly shaped lot. We could comply, for example, with that rear setback if we proposed an awkward diamond-shaped building that was more corresponding with the lot shape. But again, I think some of the relief is related to some of those unique site conditions. So again, I'm trying to be brief, but in conclusion, I would say that what we're proposing here is substantially appropriate and in keeping with the 2021 approval, and I would say approval of this refined application is warranted. So that's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. Okay, I guess this would be Venus.
I don't have any questions.
Oh, okay. Okay. Rakesh?
I'm good.
Okay. Am I right? Question? My left? Oh, go ahead, Ed.
On the setbacks, there's a side, you have 15.7 feet on one side, and the requirements is 50 feet?
It's the rear, not the side.
Rear, not the
Correct.
side?
Yeah.
I see. What is the side setback?
The side setback that we're proposing,
Yeah.
bear with me a second, I'll pull it up here. Side setback is, I think, 27 feet, whereas we need 25 feet. So we're compliant.
Okay, thank you.
Am I reading that?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, we have to open it to the public now. Again, seeing no hands?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn.
And Joe?
Do you have anything further?
We have nothing further. We would just request that the board grant the application tonight for the amended site plan approval. You've heard the testimony from 4 of my experts, and we've heard the comments and the concerns with regards to the parking. I think that the testimony that we've provided with providing the additional parking allays any of those concerns, and we would appreciate the board's approval tonight.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, a vote in favor of this application would be granting the amended major preliminary and final site plan application with the requested C variance and design waivers. The applicant will be, as part of the conditions of approval, will be required to comply with the conditions of the original approval as unless otherwise modified by the testimony and approval granted by this board. They would be, as testified, they would be in compliance or agreeing to comply with all of the comments with the set forth in the board's professional report dated April 24th, and we'll work with the board to make sure compliance with the same. The applicant also agreed to require the trash enclosure, the trash pickup to be done during off-peak hours, and we'll include that in the lease agreement with its tenants. The applicant, after just extensive discussion with the board, agreed to modify its plans to include an additional parking space, excuse me, I'm just looking for my notes here, to adjust where the striped area is and the curbing area where the truck maneuvering into the loading space, to potentially add 2 spaces near where the striped area is and 1 space along the building, as well as requesting relief for tandem parking for use in the loading area when not being utilized in the loading, by loading during the off-peak hours for employee parking only, which would increase the parking to approximately 44 spaces being provided. I guess on that point, and I think maybe we should have a little discussion on this, if it turns out the engineer cannot provide those spaces, at least the 2 spaces and the 1 spaces that we agreed to, and that this is why I'm raising a question to the board and the board professionals, would that then trigger them to come back to the board for further, board retained jurisdiction, and they can come back to board for further testimony? That's my thought on it, so that way, it's not that you're starting over, but you have to come back before the board to explain how. Okay.
We have no
To not go into further depth, but if we're all in agreement, then we'll deal with that. The applicant will work with the board professionals with regard to the final architectural design during compliance review. And that is what I have.
Thank you. Before we go for a motion, does anybody have any last comments? Go ahead.
Yes.
Just wondering if
What was the occupancy?
You said roughly 20? you'd consider
Oh,
I'm not
well,
sure if-
we didn't get actually a final, I think that was kind of just left out in abeyance. We didn't get to a final discussion or agreement with the applicant on that. And it's up to the board whether they would impose it, even if the applicant didn't agree to it. But I guess that we should open that up. Thank you for bringing that back up. I missed that one.
Can I just ask, so right now, what is the request for? The request is for 38 with the outdoor?
With the outdoor.
Okay, and you were 28, or, so 28?
20 inside, 8 outside.
37 versus, 38 versus 28?
Excuse me.
What number are we talking about? I don't know. 28, 37?
Yeah, the application is for 38 total seats, 8 outside, 30 inside.
Oh, right.
Vino wanted it to be reduced to 20 inside, 8 outside, so 28 total seats. So that's what we're.
So I think if the applicant would be, so I think if it's 32, it would be 8 outside and 24 inside.
I think my client could agree to that.
All right, so what was the final agreement?
So it's 32 spaces.
32
seats.
seats with 24 inside and 8 outside. And that is what is being agreed to by the applicant, would be included in the board's vote, if it votes in favor of the application.
One more second,
Oh,
please.
yep.
Another power.
What is it going to be? I mean, is it like a fast food thing? Or is it a fast food thing?
I don't know if it'd be
Some dining. Next to the dollar.
We're okay.
Okay. So that is the vote being presented by the board if the board acts in favor of the application.
Okay, again, before we go for a vote, does any have a last comment? No? This side?
The only thing, thank you guys for being amenable to some of the changes. We normally don't go through this many changes in an application. But I do appreciate you guys working with us on both the parking as well as the restaurant space.
Myself, I hope you can squeeze as much out of the parking lot as you can. So do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by
I'll second.
Mr. Gary?
Who got second?
Gary?
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Agopian?
Yes.
Ms. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Renner?
Yes.
Mr. Petty?
Yes.
Ms. Masella?
Yes.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Farrar,
Yes.
Chairman Lauer.
Yes.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. We do appreciate your time tonight.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Now we can open up to public and close. Okay, and we're going to open up to the public for any comments. Any comments from public? Seeing no hands, close the public portion. Need a motion to adjourn?
Move it.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.